Good afternoon, everybody. Today is Wednesday, August 3rd, 2022. It's 2 p.m. and this is a meeting, an extraordinary meeting, of the Board of Trustees of the Newburytown Library. My name is Alexander Burke, and others in present are
Beth Sinani.
Dick Raven.
And having three, and having therefore a quorum, we're moving ahead with the meeting. In attendance are also
Erin Thompson-Lynette.
Oh,
We're partway through, so yeah.
Okay. and
Dorothy Moynihan.
perfect. The focus of today's meeting, the only topic of discussion, is just that discussion. No votes, no conclusions anticipated. The subject of compensation for library staff and challenges therein. So, Erin, would you set the table a bit for us on this topic?
Sure. So one of the things that came up when in hiring, it looked for a couple of positions over the last few months, has been staff wages, which was a negative impact to hiring somebody that we reached out to for the children's librarian position. And that got me kind of looking at wages and seeing that while over the last few years we've been able to kind of bump certain levels up a bit, like we tried to do with state aid last year and the year before, to supplement and get wages to a better place. Our part-timers received a 37-cent increase for FY23 to make $16.15 an hour, which is just not competitive. And so we have an issue with trying to both attract as well as retain talent. And so we're meeting today to, obviously town budgets are kind of what they are, and not sure where there's going to be wiggle room to try to actually improve wages. Are there other ways, other benefits we could add, other ideas to supplement the complete package of working here at the library? So this is a bigger issue than just the library, obviously, because library employees are town employees. And so it all becomes a piece of that larger component there. So I don't know how much change is possible or how it affects change, but that's what this meeting pretty much is about, to start the conversation and see where we get.
Thank you. Do we have, among us, do we have a way of identifying wage compensation range within the steps and classifications of the town? Do we have a way to identify
What the ranges
the
are.
range of compensation within town
Yes,
steps and within the classification system?
yes, as a matter of fact, I do. I just received that information because I have to report it to Harris every year as part of my reporting. What is the low end of the range and what is the high end of the range for every position of the library?
Do we get at least close to the low end?
I can go grab it, it's on my desk. I just got it this morning,
Okay.
and it's easy to grab. That's okay.
How did you do that rather than just
Yeah,
asking for a
then we'll have some
impression?
real
Okay,
numbers. Yeah.
so we'll just hold conversation until we get that. Does everybody know Joan Friedman?
I do. I'm Dick Raven.
That's not. Senior.
Is it Freeman or Freeman?
Freeman, indeed. So I'm the interim president of the Friends. Alex and I met last week and was referential more interaction between the Friends and the trustees and doing.
All right. So,
Just another question, when looking for that, is it primarily the part-time that we're looking at, or is it everywhere?
it's primarily part-time, but it's also everywhere. So
Okay.
the position that I was really struggling with hiring, that was youth services.
Okay.
And so, while that's a higher wage because it's a higher position,
Right.
it's still not really competitive.
Okay.
So for the range for our two part-timers, the bottom is $13.92. The top is $21.55.
And where do we sit?
$16 and, oh, actually, no, last year, so that was FY '22, so last year, they were $15 and 37 raise. So we do the math, I mean, $16.15 minus 37 cents is.
He's an English major.
$15.78. So that was 1378, the low end is 1392. This year for FY '23, the low end is $14.34. They're making $16.15. The high end is $22.20.
So gonna be,
Medium low.
so the question is, if raise up, is it simply longevity that is getting people to the higher wage?
It really isn't, because you don't, there's no way to move through these ranges. There's no merit increases, there's no longevity increases, you get a COLA, cost of living. So, once you're in the range, you're stuck there.
Wherever you enter, that's where you stay plus COLA. So it's a townwide issue.
It is a time issue. And that's kind of what makes it hard is that, you know, we're not at liberty to make choices for just here. And obviously they can't allow something for just here.
Did I just do that when I played the board?
Probably.
It's
No.
a long one, but I'm, so. I'll get one of my minions.
So, once hired, as Dick stated, you're slotted.
You're kind of there unless you know,
Does education or anything impact, like if you get
it's
certification?
It's supposed to, but it didn't. So we have a staff in the past get her bachelor's. It did not impact. She didn't just get an automatic bump. Nothing happened, and nothing is going to happen because it was not embedded. So it's supposed to, and it's supposed to make you more marketable, but as it translates here, it's no guarantee of everything.
So you got a raise 2 years ago, 3 years ago?
2 or 3 years ago. And I hate to say this because I was going to leave.
Yeah, so.
It was able to be done at that time. It took them 2 years in 2 parts to get me to the middle of the range because I was at the bottom. Yeah.
So, okay, so education is supposed to be a bump. So that's one way to get out.
Well, it is, except it isn't. So
Right,
you get a-
but I'm saying it should.
It should, yeah.
Now, under the Quinn Act, it does for the police and fire. Significantly.
Well, most places, I think it does, you know.
Here we are.
So is there any way we can get that retroactive? Is it just because the budget wasn't there, or is it because someone said, "Oh, sorry"?
My understanding is that the budget we have for salaries is the budget we have. And we can do with it what we'd like, but it's not going to change. The overall salaries budget line item is not going to change.
Okay.
And so that's where, when we tried to supplement with state aid,
Right.
which was very complex and convoluted, because we were adding like $1.04 plus, the regular town wage and trying to figure that out. We had to go that route because it's not a budget, so we were expecting
Let me just give you a little bit of history. Some person, I was on the board 5 years and then for the longer year we went on at a time with a period of really dicey finance. And it's taken since my effort in town hall over at least a half a decade to finally get our nose above water. And we noticed this year for the first time we're at a higher, a new position than what we've been asking for a decade. And it finally got approved. So the budget went up somewhere for that.
Right.
So the question is, where's the lever that we can put where's the place we can put our crowbar under to make it happen?
Yeah.
Because the town most likely, and I've heard of taking over planning, have much struggle doing better for the library than the library.
Absolutely.
In fact, and so there are two issues. One is this townwide issue in which every person in the town isn't able to get merit or longevity or education-based increases. So there's no formula to do this.
Right.
And the second issue is how does the library make the money now change? And I don't say I have an answer to this.
There's a question. They're doing an awful lot of stuff, and I know they just bought a $400,000 piece of equipment, and they're doing all of this. And now this, I'm assuming, is that donations that they're getting money from?
Football field?
Yeah, that's the one thing.
I feel the
Okay. So that is donations, whatever. Okay, but the equipment
Oh,
and
should
stuff
we-
like that, I don't know where, how they determine who gets what.
Okay. In the budgeting process, DPW, for example, would submit a request for the additional plow truck.
Okay.
Becomes a warrant item, approved at town meeting. There's your truck. Same thing with police equipment, fire equipment.
Okay.
You don't have to face a fire engine. Going to happen.
I think it first has to get approved by FinCom, right? Before it goes
And the board.
to the select board.
Tracy FinCom board
Right,
meeting, yeah.
right.
I guess what I'm trying to say is, okay, does that mean that the town is doing better and now has more funds that they can allocate to people? And if that's the case, in the past, it probably wouldn't do anything if you went to them because they didn't have the money. But now, it appears they may have more money.
Town's priorities, and this is not just Newbury, but most
Oh,
towns'
I'm sure.
priorities.
Yeah.
First of all, the police are unionized negotiations, so they have huge amount of power. I'm not sure if fire is unionized.
Yes.
So that's part of the issue. There's no union representing all the other workers in town.
DPW was unionized too.
Oh, is it? I wasn't sure about
That's
that.
free, but we
That's-
also confidential this morning in the feed.
And we say, well, the library needs new computers, and we have the money to get them, right? But
Say that again, sorry.
we need things like dump trucks too in the library, except for computers or their television sets or whatever they are. And we usually have to fumble from donated funds
Right.
and mix it together
And
sometimes.
grants and things.
And grants and
Right.
things. Maybe before that, we don't have to send projects. But I think it's the way of the world.
I'm just thinking though, this may be a more timely time to say, okay, things seem to be a little bit better economically in the town. We have seem to have more funds because they are allocating some to other areas. But perhaps this is the year that go in and say, okay, employees are not compensated at a reasonable level. So, in the past, I understand nobody was getting anything. But this might be the year that we can approach that.
What about the issue of retention also, which was a serious, and has been a serious issue? Because people left, they were earning enough to support that, really.
And libraries and wealthier communities.
Yeah.
Right.
And then the process starts again. People get planted here, learn a lot, are paid for what they know in terms of their jobs, and they go with the penny,
Right.
which is a waste.
They
don't have the training there. Yeah.
Well, yeah. I'm just thinking that this environment now, this year, might be the time to say, okay.
It definitely is. So budget request season is in December.
Okay.
We'll be kind of preparing, starting in November, and talking about what's our goal. What do we want to ask the town for? Where are our needs? And this is definitely going to be on that docket. Is to increase wages. However, I do think there will be some room in the town budget, but how much is there, I'm not sure. So the other component that I hope we can kind of brainstorm on today is, are there other benefits to help offset? I don't think our wages here are ever going to be something that actually attracts talent. We want them to be.
Well, yeah, this could be, so I guess
They
it
can do what they
Well, we
want.
want to get them to act.
Get them to average,
And
that's
then
lucky.
the rest of the culture here, that's great, the work, the people, and hopefully some other kinds of benefits maybe that will help offset and keep the talent.
Before we leave the issue of compensation, Beth is right. We need to at least, in budget requests, test the waters.
Absolutely.
Now, I see a challenge prior to that, to try to make things more right. Perhaps using state aid as we did in the past, whatever, however convoluted the process.
I've been strongly advised by town hall not to do that again.
Well,
What's
part
the
of,
reason?
part of the reason is it establishes a new level, and every year we have a different set of circumstances which affects how we're going to be using state aid. So you don't want to get yourself
Right.
built-in process without a built-in financing.
Right, and it also, it can make the rest of the classifications a little harder to get a handle on as far as what town members are doing.
You know, this whole thing only applies perhaps to 15 people in this community. It's employment based.
I am happy to do that. I just want to let the board know I have been strongly advised.
So let's tap to the wind and see what happens. Okay.
So the other issue with state aid is that it's not, what's in there now is about $40,000. That is a finite number. We get about 8,000 or 9,000 a year for state aid, and that does tend to get used.
But let me point out, we have a 2-decade history of investing somewhere between $8,000 and $12,000 in state aid. released in 4 tranches as the year goes along. So I'm somewhat, it's solid, I'm somewhat comfortable using state aid to supplement
So
the
long as
part
it doesn't go
time.
over, like the $9,000, because then you're making a promise on money that you don't know who's going to get $9,000.
I think in this year, looking at the current FUFRA on Beacon Hill relative to state income and distribution of tax returns and all that, tax refunds, it's going to be there this year. And from MBLC, we got an update on the budget as proposed, not as signed, with a consistent amount, with an amount of allocation to MBLC consistent with last year's allocation, FY22. So we can be cautiously optimistic, but
Well, I'm
Not
definitely
reckless.
optimistic, but to promise someone a salary
Absolutely.
that you might at some point not be
not
able
be able.
to continue is not a situation I'd love to be in. So I just want to be really careful how to do it.
And you use state aid to be able to set for 90% materials, right? That's much more common use of that money.
Right.
And we need it for that.
We do need it, especially this year, because we got our budget request last year, which is great. It means we have a larger operating budget. We have a 19% mandate from the state to spend 90% of that operating budget. So this year, we have a shortfall of 27,000 that we need to make up that's not covered by the municipal expense fund. So that needs to come from our funds, such as state aid.
Good point, because when we go in for FY24, we're going to be carrying forward that 27K deficit into the request for next year, and the 19 or whatever it becomes, 21%, because of the higher budget. Anyway,
Where are we with reaching our MAR this year?
We won't, I have to do the rate process for this year one more time.
Yeah?
But next year, we are good. We're off. We're finally off the
we're
loop.
going to have to apply for a waiver this year then.
Yeah, because this year, it's based on, I think, 3 years in a row. The calculation.
Divided by
That's right.
twice.
So it's next year that we.
Yeah, and we're only allowed, when did they pass the law? They said 5 years in a row and did that.
They did, it was pre-COVID, but they've extended it because of COVID. Yep.
Equivalent of the athlete's waiver.
Yeah, so there are other factors with spending state aid money. State aid money is allowed to be used for salaries. I'm not sure the other funds are. I think it's only state aid that's allowed to be used in that way.
Okay, now the $27,000 shortfall. And we've got that 5,000 promise pledge undocumented for renewable energy books.
Yes.
So does that squeeze us down to maybe 22?
In my budget for the year, that I think I presented last month, it's a balanced budget. The only thing, so I took care of that $27,000 shortfall and applied all of our other funds. I have a $5,000 remaining to be covered that I planned to ask the local banks for a grant. That now I don't have to, because we got the $5,000 renewable energy grant.
Okay.
Tracy let me know last week that she's going, it's $5,000 for books and audio books for renewable energy, and that all counts towards that 19% materials requirement. So that's awesome, and that right there was the exact amount. It balanced it all.
Anna?
Yep.
Okay. Right.
So, all right, so you're looking for other ideas of how to compensate people?
Yeah, so we have compensation is just one issue. There are other issues such as, we're vacation time, not getting paid for, there's a blank holiday. People, if that went on and we had to close for a couple of weeks, people aren't paying their mortgages, even as full-time employees. If there's a snow day, people are not paid and they're not allowed to work from home. So there are policies in place that I feel they negatively impact staff as well as our ability to attract talent because it's known. So when, Jade and Katie left to go to Hamilton, the word gets around about how libraries are. I know ones that I've never go to, because you get a reputation. And we have one because of our lack of support for our staff. So that's something I think needs to be addressed. I don't know how that is, these are policies that are on the books. So
Let's break them down.
right, and
I
so,
mean, you listed 3 or 4 issues there,
Right.
vacation, sick,
right,
unexpected closures. Let's see what we can imagine to move through some of it and prioritize.
right. So some of the little things, like getting the Friday after Thanksgiving off, we talked about. What we did last year was all staff had to work on Monday to offset it. But what that does, for people who maybe have other jobs to try and supplement this one, that doesn't really work out so well. So,
But, we strained to find a solution for the Wednesday after Thanksgiving as a day not to be here at work. Okay?
The Friday after Thanksgiving.
Exactly. We move Friday to Monday, Terry's suggestion.
right,
And it strikes me as nuts to then open the library on Saturday. And yet, I think back to my own college time, when I was living in Marblehead, with 4 younger sibs. And every time we have a public library on Saturday and Friday.
We're open on Saturday.
we are.
Yes, but it strikes me as nuts, however, personal experience suggests it's a good thing.
We don't get product the Saturday after Thanksgiving. Or
Perfect.
the Friday, it's like crickets. And it's just one of those easy things where it's not adding any extra to the budget.
Yeah.
Salaries are all covered, wages are all covered. When there's a snow day, that's already covered budget. Why don't we pay people when there's a snow day? It costs
I don't
nothing.
understand it myself.
Well, that was gonna be my next question. Are they salaried or are they paid hourly?
Hourly.
So,
But it's already in the salaries budget, it's accounted for, so
Right.
there's no cost.
it's okay.
But it's cost.
No, I'm saying,
Yeah, I know, it's one of those kind of, I think, damaging policies
Yeah.
to morale, to staff feeling
well,
supported.
common sense.
Really does, be here and work or don't get paid. That's what it comes down to. It
From
comes
an
down to that with the
external-
snow days, it comes down to that with the
Right,
unexpected closures due to this system leaking or whatever, and it's gonna happen again. We're drifting into our 23rd winter with this.
Where does that go?
back
For
into,
policy change.
yeah, so those are the questions, like, I'm not sure how,
I mean, it was like shocking for me when I suggested changing the workday last year, and everybody went, oh! Like, wait, what?
Terry, you're brilliant.
Well,
But I
Sorry.
don't know the chain of command.
I didn't hear you, I'm so sorry.
Oh, I didn't understand the chain of command. I mean, I found that really difficult, that hour is that people worked in a situation like that had never been changed. They had never been changed before. When I suggested that, it was like this aha moment, and
but I
it's kind of weird.
can remember years back, and you and Jean were coming to do work while the library was closed because there was no way to get it done. Some was open, and got a few of that, so.
right,
already working with the library school.
Right.
So there is not an educated view of how things function.
Right.
And we have tried, but it's a slow uphill to get people to understand why people want to study this math.
And who do you need to educate? That's right, is my
I
question.
believe it would be the voters in order, who would need to vote on the policy change. At the
But I
end,
think you need to buy in from the select board.
but that's true too. Right.
Select board?
You know, and,
This is the town that's making these policies?
yes.
This is what's on record,
Yeah.
yeah, at the time.
Is that everybody?
Right, like the teachers
Well,
and-
Well,
Yes,
except that was governed by CBAs.
Right,
So this applies to 15 people at most, I haven't counted.
15 women because.
We what, 7 here and how many
Say
at
they're
town
all
hall?
taken care of.
Well, what about the people who work at town hall?
Covered by this stuff that we're talking about. They're not-
Not all of them, there are, I believe, a few of the women who went to town hall who are just like, staff here, who are in the same situation.
Contracted, you mean?
Who are hourly,
Hourly.
permanent, full-time hourly. Yeah. Not in.
Well, again, 15 people, townwide.
Yeah,
Yeah, I believe so. The salary, I don't think they are. Do they?
well,
If you're a salaried employee, they don't pay your paycheck.
right, yeah, 'cause I am the only salaried person out here.
Right.
As a director, that's a salary.
You know, in terms of,
So you could come
Internal
in and
scheduling.
work every weekend if you wanted to.
I would work all of the time.
Yes.
And I have.
Exactly.
Not so much anymore.
Good.
you have under the personnel policy, fairly strong
Yeah.
discretion in scheduling and in managing employee presence within the building.
Okay.
And we should consider taking more advantage of that.
But it's the point of the building is closed, right? Like if the building's closed, you're docking pay, basically.
Well, that's not what we want.
That's not what we,
No,
Right. So
Um,
how could you change that?
I don't know.
she can't.
Okay.
But as far as
Oh, all right.
Thanksgiving and all that is concerned, that should change.
Well, we can't give people a day off.
Right,
We
so
can't add to the day off schedule
Right.
by extra days at Christmas and Thanksgiving.
it's tough because town hall's closed on Friday already and we're always closed on Saturdays. So if you don't line up as far as getting the Friday after Thanksgiving up, it's not something anybody else but the library has to worry about, and everybody else is off in the town. You know what I
Okay.
mean? So it's it's a bit of an uphill battle to get that one through.
I would think like, okay, we'll take your Friday away. How do you feel about it?
Um,
Anybody else has?
So we can't do it.
Right, well.
Good shot.
Yeah.
Well, but the queen could be, it could be raised as initial
Well, that's the thing.
in town meeting.
Fair compensation for everyone. Do it across the board.
Exactly.
Well, it is, they're just not open on Fridays. You know, we're not open on Mondays.
That's a nice way to do it.
I know,
Well,
but we're not open on
that's
Mondays.
2008, 2009 diminution anyways.
You know, just play, it's devil at some other end. Why is the decision to be on Monday better than the decision to be on Friday?
So the library used to be open back before I even worked here, and I was taking Freya to story times here, they were on Mondays. So it hasn't always been that we're not open on Mondays.
But aren't there a lot of holidays, more holidays on Mondays than there are on Fridays?
There are, and this is
That's probably
one,
why.
this is one of the perks of those kind of hidden benefits.
Okay.
When there's a Monday holiday, since we're closed, we get a floating holiday that staff take at any point in the next 30 days. So the building won't close, but staff will get 8 hours of paid holiday time to use somewhere in the next.
So prison doesn't solve that problem. Because there are only a couple of Fridays a year where it's a
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of an example of the little, there are a million of these little things where we kind of nickel and dime our staff that it'd be great to get that. Because I know we can't get our salaries up high as you'd like. I think we could get them up a little.
Mhm.
But making it a better culture as far as our policies go, I think would go a long way. Be more friendly.
I would think it'd be easier to argue, you know, and say, everybody else has Fridays off on this. Why are we the only ones that can't?
Right.
Give us good reason for that.
Well,
Yeah.
say everyone else in town,
Well, but
everyone
then you
else
can
out
always say,
Yeah.
you don't have a reason, so
Again,
why don't we
You
change?
know, I think we need to prioritize this and sequentially
Mhm.
approach it.
But it seems like
Under-
these are the things that we can potentially
I wonder if
versus the
this-
salary.
Yeah.
Yeah, work it into the long-term plan and stuff. This is what the manual, personnel manual writes about department rules, okay? Department heads are authorized to frame and promulgate rules in addition and subject to, but not inconsistent with the provisions of this personnel policy manual. The manual is silent on many of the things we're talking about, but not silent on some others. So let's identify the quiet parts, take advantage of them, and as far as the non-quiet parts are concerned, let's prioritize and figure out what we want to fix first, okay? I think emergency closings is something we ought to tackle. On account of a cause, as Beth pointed out, it is completely unfair to our people that you can't get here because of a weather event or putting your life at your own peril. It ought not to be done.
Oh, they're not open, even if you got here. Right.
But that takes you exactly to the point. Because if the emergency is declared on a weather basis, employees will not be paid and have a choice of two items. A, take a vacation day. B, work out the missed hours over the next 45 days.
Which is hard to do when you already work every hour of the month.
It's, we've got to find a way to work those additional hours during the 45-day time frame for the help. Because I want to be in a position, I want us to be in a position in which you can submit your payroll sheets for the days in which the weather events compel us to not open. In a standard way, 36 hours of compensation applied for every employee during, or whatever, 20 hours in some cases. And then find a way to make up those hours going forward.
So you want staff to make up the hours?
Of course.
That's what
You're not going to get it, you're not going to reach a point at which you'll be paid for days off due to weather. Ain't going to happen.
So that's one of those
Doesn't sound
negative
wrong.
policies that I kind of think deserves funding.
Put it up top, you know, and hit the wall on it.
You know, I mean,
Because there are other people who aren't being paid.
Which is my point.
Yes.
You can't, when I worked in benefits, you can't do that, because you're gonna have somebody sue you. So, but that's big business, so that's very different
No,
than
These
tax.
guys are.
people on salary don't have to work on that day and still get
But
paid.
they're getting paid.
And still get paid as if they did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Erin will continue to be paid. God love her. So,
But we have these timid little librarians who are not.
I don't think any of them are timid.
I don't personally.
Air quotes for that
That's,
not
So
a
they-
good concept.
they're smart enough to go someplace else where they're gonna get paid.
They will, they absolutely will.
they have.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Say it
They will
again.
say, good job.
I said, and they have.
You get all of their manuals?
But
Can we give,
oh,
is it
so-
possible to obtain information or copies of manuals, for example, from Hamlin?
I doubt it.
Yeah. Well, they're unionized.
Yeah, they just do that, didn't they?
Yeah, like
Oh,
last year, the year before, yeah, so like 2 years old, nice, so.
wow.
How many employees, have any idea?
Hamilton.
They're bigger, they're a little bigger.
Is it everybody?
Yeah, I know. I was thinking 10, 15, somewhere in that.
Full-time?
Oh, I don't know, just total staff, somewhere probably in that.
As opposed to
Wouldn't the
about
library
7.
board have them, those manuals?
The what?
Wouldn't the library board have the manuals?
For other towns?
There's a personnel.
Yeah,
Typically, it's preparatory
Yeah.
information, you can't do that, as an employee, you usually sign.
It's on our websites.
And apparently you can do it.
Well, maybe it isn't on others,
Just
but
saying.
Terry, you're making a good point.
Is it on the website of the town we wish to compare to?
Exactly. And Terry's making a point. Look, we don't have to reinvent the wheel.
Right.
We can go to Mass Library Systems or MBLC and maybe get some help on this.
We did that with friends. Our bylaws. We looked at other libraries, like the friends that do it, and worked in towns.
Why not?
Well,
I don't think the MBLC has every library town's set
No,
bylaws.
perhaps in the,
No, but maybe the town website has
Yes.
the personnel board,
Yeah.
rules and regs, this is our stuff.
Have you seen the size of the bylaws? It's legal, it's this much legal, that it's extremely hard. Well, you have some of it.
I have the personnel manual, that's it.
It's hard to get through.
Yeah, I wrote down before you did this
Yeah.
one.
I'm not sure what that means. I mean, all we want is the personnel board stuff, right?
Yes.
I'm not
I
saying, we may not exist, but it may. So we're saying, how do they do it?
So I think that we should have a plan too, to work together to do it and not put it all on you.
I wouldn't be able to.
No.
Yeah.
So you're talking about looking at other libraries' personnel policies? Okay.
To whom are we comparable?
The load.
Excuse me?
Distribute the load.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So West Newbury, Georgetown, Topsfield, Merrimack, Raleigh, Salisbury.
Amesbury.
Amesbury is actually very well paid and unionized.
No, well, that's Amesbury. And maybe that's.
How about some in other parts of the state? To broaden it a little bit, and have a comparable size and not be
Go
unionized.
out to Western Mass, but I don't know that gives us any room to crash as far as compare. Right. And I do have a spreadsheet that I can get other libraries of similar size, 2 hours, so I can get that for you.
I think that would be good, because only local, to me, seems to blend some of the politics and stuff like that, what we're doing.
This is going to be.
So let's see what other folks are doing. Maybe we can even do something like a spreadsheet or Ben Franklin comparison between one another. And as with the salary ranges, find where we're positioned, that will maybe rest our minds in some areas and perhaps animate them in others. But-
What's a Ben Franklin?
I'm sorry?
What's a Ben Franklin comparison?
Oh, the goods, the bads.
Sorry, I didn't.
Well, that's okay. It's an old salesman's trick. I'm sorry about that. I am old. So, anyway.
So I did have questions about listing, and maybe this isn't a place for that, but listing out kind of the little things that we want to go at, like the Friday after Thanksgiving,
Sure.
like, working until 7 on the night before Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving or on Christmas Eve or things like that. Just if it falls on a Wednesday, we work till 7. There are no parameters for staff to get. to leave
Oh, but isn't
earlier
that such a busy
on Christmas Eve.
flow? People come in.
Sure, will be indigested or if
You
it's
do run into staffing issues because everybody wants to leave early to take time off, and you don't want to be like, no. But
You know,
Tiny
guys,
Tim-
we're spending more time and mental effort on not working than we are on working. Okay, do your list. Tell us what you see.
Well, that's one. For Friday is another one. One thing for the part-timers who have such a low wage is to include them in what we're talking about, pay them if we're closed due to an emergency. It is in the budget, so I'm trying to think of things that don't cost anybody any money. There's a blank colleague, they would also be part of staff pay.
So compensation for all staff
Yeah.
in the event of a close of force department by mechanical malfunction.
Right.
Acts of God.
I'm sorry?
Acts of God.
There you go.
What?
No,
Our glycol system is not an act of God
No.
or miraculously clear.
There are no personal needs, so possibly that could help. Providing more vacation time. Is it beautiful that gives everybody 4 weeks right off the bat
Personal
I don't
days?
know, for vacation time? We don't have any personal needs.
Well, he's looking at us.
I've worked here 10 years, so we two are going to be found out.
She's taking them tomorrow.
I just wondered if there was a way on these evenings when most people are either driving to a family member's house or definitely they don't have the library on the first of their list, like Wednesday night before Thanksgiving. If we can't include that as a given time,
Right.
because the number is anticipated to be so low, the number of use. I know every citizen of Newbury is welcome to the library, but there's only one individual at the whole town consistently came at those times and said, does it have to be?
We have to hide the element from the library things. But I look at it.
The area
You come here to get a job.
Oh, yes, good point.
One
We do,
thing.
so we have computerized report on that measures everybody who walks in and out that we get our numbers from. We got a new system years ago for tracking that, which is good. I think the data has been erasing itself after a certain amount of time goes by. So we might want to track certain days for the future that we never had a day by day, it was a monthly total. So if we can track something this year for either holidays or day before holidays, things like that, that might be useful for the future. And keep it current.
Erin, you are right, as usual. However, available are sick leave days, military leave, bereavement leave, court leave,
Bereavement leave has some qualifications.
Somebody has to go.
immediate family. What's original about that? All right. Court leave, voting leave, small necessities leave, special leave with pay.
What's
Yeah, what's the necessity?
Oh, let me read it at you.
Personnel?
What's it say?
Oh, and so we might not be
I don't know.
staffing.
They ran out of
for all of
The
those.
town at its exclusive discretion.
Sure.
Sick leave stuff. Anyway, as I say, talking more about not working than working. So,
Well, they're working, it's never been an issue. Really, the other time.
first time.
Is there anything after the new personal amendments?
Oh, right, and the last thing I had was vacation time. So the vacation time, which I got a little more information today. Staff until 0.5 years, so like this is 5 years, you accrue 5.5 hours a month, which gives you 66 hours a year to take. It is supposed to look like 2 years. Because we are only 32 hours a week in summer, and the rest of the year, we go back and forth between 36 and 32, you don't, if you want to take a vacation for the rest of the year, you're going to get a 14 weeks vacation. Because it's hard to describe it, hard to do a graph. It just doesn't add up. You don't have enough to take for 2 weeks when we're also working Saturdays. You do in summer. So because our hours drop, that affects people's ability to both accrue vacation time and to then take years to get those. And
I don't see the accrual issue. 1/12 per month of service, retroactive. It does not, accrual does not have a footnote vis-a-vis, there's an asterisk there, but it's not explained, does not have a footnote vis-a-vis hours of work during the month.
so it's 5.5 hours. accrual
Okay,
per month.
it's on 2 tracks. One track is the amount of leave you're entitled to, weeks. The other track is the amount of hours you have earned to get paid for that time you're not getting paid. It's 2 tracks. Being eligible for 2 weeks doesn't mean you're going to get paid for it because the hourly thing plays in. And at that point, you're totally right. But looking at your stuff,
I don't understand, because
Neither do
you
I.
have to work an entire year to get the 2 weeks. And then it's not allowed to be carried over long enough to use it when you want it to at the end of the next year.
I
You
think
have
it's,
to take it in the first half.
Because it's July to June.
Right.
So you accrue it all through July into June the next year. And then you have, end of June, you have your full 2 weeks.
Okay.
And you can carry it up to the end of September to use 2 weeks.
So you can
Yeah,
So
also,
you
so
can
you
use
can
it
have
over
it.
as in October.
You don't even have a full week. You can't take vacation for 1 week in October, November, December, or possibly January. However, we did just get some information this morning from Diane who said this is the rule on the books, but they try to work with staff. You know, but it's not not a guarantee. So.
I'd
It's
like
on
to
an
see people's
exception basis.
response in town meeting, if they were all told that's the way their vacation worked. Really?
It's just tough, and I think the reason it came up in here was with one staff person who wanted to take vacation in November and couldn't. So at that time, we didn't ask for, which was probably 1 or 2 years ago, didn't ask for any special circumstances to be able to take it. When it hadn't yet been accrued, but you just, it's impossible to accrue enough to take a week off in October, November, December. So it just, you know,
unless you carry forward stuff.
you know, allowed you past September 30th.
Diane indicated, and I do believe her, should that circumstance arise, she's prepared to be flexible on an exception basis, but she is prepared to do so.
but exceptions really mean that the rule is this.
Of
Yes,
course it does.
So when you hire somebody, which
Yes.
is what this is all about,
yes.
you can't tell them to do that. You have to say, this is it.
These are the rules.
So it brings about the problem, you can't hire somebody that sounds unreasonable.
It's an unfriendly policy among a number of other unfriendly policies, and if we aren't able to compensate decent wages. We can't be both unfriendly and outrageous. You can choose one or the other.
It ain't a package that's easy to sell.
So it seems like tiny little things, I realize, but they're tiny
They're not
little
tiny.
things that.
They affect people's lives.
Yeah.
I'd be like, oh, hey, have fun with that. Go somewhere else.
All right,
Yeah.
let's go over your priorities list again. Make sure we're all on the same gathering here, because I think I missed some stuff. First is the Thanksgiving week issues.
And correct me if I'm wrong, I don't know that these are the priorities, these were just kind of the
Yeah.
You run the library. You're the director. You're prioritizing.
Well, but this I thought was going to be a brainstorming session.
It is.
So other people have.
Well, it could be a priority, but it doesn't mean the first one is the first priority.
Yeah,
No.
That is the first one on the list.
The priority is the salary, right?
yes,
So
Exactly.
that would be the,
exactly.
fix it first, but.
This was really just my kind of list to start.
It's all good. Let's work it.
All right, so salaries, vacation time. That vacation time could go 2 ways, right? We could add another week as starting vacation time and make it 3, and then there's no, I think you would accrue enough from July 1st to move into vacation in October. That's what we got.
Provided you have the hours in advance.
Like you said, you can't do that. Just if you added another week to what you get, you can get on.
So you
So
do
you-
more hours per month than when we had 2 weeks.
So-
you wouldn't have to use it before September 30th.
So that's because it's a fiscal year. So the fiscal year ends on June 30th. So we start accruing vacation time for the next fiscal year on July 1st. That's fine for the entire fiscal year. It's the stuff from the prior fiscal year that we have to use up by September 30th. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So it's the fiscal year versus calendar year.
Kind
Yeah.
of, yeah. So with vacation time, you could just get your lump sum on July 1st and be able to take it whenever you want throughout the year, and then there would be, you're still technically accruing, and if you leave, but you've already taken time, you may get stopped, by a company.
But
So that's one.
we might be able to achieve that provided we have an elimination period during which no vacation time is available.
They have that already, so.
How do you mean?
So Vicky's not allowed, she's going on vacation in September, but she can't use her time, like you're not allowed to use your time until you've been there 6 months.
Right, right. So let's go to a year, no vacations for 12 months, but at 12 months and a day, the new policy
No
authorized.
vacation for 12 months.
Correct, correct.
That'll be a
12
lot.
months,
That's far better.
at 12 months, no it isn't, it's normal.
No, that's not normal.
No, it's not, no.
That's
Tell
not
me more.
normal at all.
Any business, yes, there's
You're gonna
usually,
pay somebody a
6
week's
months,
vacation
there-
at what point? 2 weeks
more
at
than
what
that
point?
usually, but 6 months is the probationary time.
Yeah,
So never a year, you would ever take a job.
well, what we have right now is a 1/12 per month accrual.
Right.
1/12,
And you can't take it until you've been there 6 months, but yeah.
yeah.
So, yeah.
How would you redesign it?
I think it's from day one, there's your 2 weeks, it's only 2 weeks.
That's right.
Just, I'm not giving
But
it 6
again,
weeks. It's 2 weeks.
Eligible for 2 weeks. Where are the hours?
Where are the hours?
How many hours have been earned to apply to that 2-week vacancy? So you'll get paid.
I think it's
Again, it's on 2
Is it
tracks.
3 months or is it 6 months?
It's 3 months for 6 time,
Okay.
6 months for vacation.
And 6 months is
Standard.
usually,
Yeah.
it's very standard.
And if you have vacation you want, when you, start a job, you usually just negotiate, like, can I just move off, I'll take it unpaid.
Right.
But
But we should have it for 6 months. It's not like they're gonna say, okay, I'm taking 2 weeks off, maybe, oh, I quit.
well, that's what they're trying to avoid with this whole
But 6 months is
scenario.
typical. sorry.
So anyway, how would you redesign it?
Yeah, you're putting me on the spot. I thought this was brainstorming, but I was not prepared. I wasn't prepared for this.
We're
Identifying
identifying issues.
You can say, I'm not sure, let me think about it.
Yeah.
Fine.
Yes.
Time to think about it.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so,
I have an answer. I just thought that's surprising.
all
So,
right, so Thanksgiving week, vacation time, salaries, what else you got?
is it vacation week or is it really like around the holidays week? Is for Christmas and whatever, it's that you said you were having problems on those holidays, right? Vaca-
Well, depending on when the holiday falls, like with our late Wednesday nights, for till 7, and if that falls on Christmas Eve,
I mean, it always happens at Thanksgiving, we know
it
that.
always happens.
Thanks for Roosevelt.
Some of us do that, but, you know.
Right, you know, there's, trying to think about it. July is one of those regular ones that people leave, they do like a 2 o'clock. You know what I mean? That's one of those things that's fairly common, I think, with certain holidays, and it would be nice to have it.
Okay, so it's really more,
Yeah.
there's only like 3 of them, it sounds like. Okay. Yeah, what do you think? I worked my little rear end off computers, so there are no holidays. Okay, so those are,
And then, like I mentioned, I think it's April library, we're starting at 4 weeks vacation. Our staff get 2 weeks for 5 years before they're going to go up to 3. So is there any ability to increase the starting vacation? I think that would go a long way.
That was the state. Awesome. 2 weeks and then 3, 4.
Oh, you think that's a state one?
No, I worked for the state and I've been, working for the, and most of my career did not work for the state. But I started out, I worked at Mass Mountain Health Center for a year and a half. And then I went back to working for the state several times, out of the whole system. I paid back the retirement money I took out in 1971. Those years of work counted at the current rate of pay when I retired. So I had it counted toward the accrual of the years. And in that system, if you are getting a state pension, you don't qualify in the same way for Social Security unless you work more than summer years for Social Security. So it's a more flexible system than exists in the library.
I was gonna say, we have 2 weeks to start, the dark ages. And I would say, probably, in 2 or 3 years is when you got the extra. And then it just kept, but, you know, you had to be there for probably at least 3 years. Nowadays, they negotiate whatever they want, so it really, you don't have rules really like that. So, I'm not sure, but it sounds like 5 years is a long time.
I'm just looking at one of my contracts from employment of the company I work for. Only 4 points in the contract: my title, my salary, my vacation, my bonus structure. We all negotiated. When the lawyers sent back the contract, all 4 were wrong. So this happens too.
Really?
Yeah, it's like the second round of negotiation after the lawyers. So having work rules that work is really important, and I'm sure a lot of unions like ours struggle to figure out how to protect against rapacious people who quit after 10 minutes and take a lot of vacation. How to make it work for everybody. And it's not surprising that it goes more stiff than carrot. So I think We have to look for ways to make it both be equitable and feel equitable. Two different things.
too, and in this job market, where it's a great resignation and all these consequences from that, I don't know if I could say other towns, other organizations are bumping up their benefits and bumping up, what they can offer to try to attract help.
It's part of compensation.
So the landscape is kind of changing, that's another thing that we are responding to. It was like this before, the last few years happened. So it's not like it didn't make change then, but now it's like we're less competitive because of other organizations that are changing with the times. So that we could offer more vacation time, or like you said, maybe offer a bump sooner. We could be more flexible in when people can, we can provide personal days. The staff, when the building is closed due to acts of God.
Other heating system.
We could give staff the Friday after Thanksgiving as a holiday. I know that's a sticky one in the town. It's a good state thing. I don't know. We like holidays. So that might be just one option. And then there's, having the half days on things like Christmas Eve or doing Thanksgiving, things like that. And it's also including part-timers and the benefit of building closure. And that's really all I can remember for the kind of little ways that we could do better.
You mentioned early closing for Christmas and New Year's, and it seems to me we had emails from Leslie,
We
from the
did,
town,
like,
closing
days-
town hall
a couple days
early.
before.
Yeah,
So it's not that anybody could, that want to travel. You're ready, you have to be ready to work, and it's nice, it's nice, but it usually comes like the week of, or maybe the week before. I know last year, I think they had a town party, Christmas Eve, and Jean already had it off, she had a half day, and if she didn't attend the party, she had to work.
What? Somebody was,
That was,
they did that.
that was the rule.
whose rule was that?
So,
That's dead. And
but it happens, and these are the ways that we just need to be friendlier. We just need to be friendlier, and I think that the staff needs kind of some advocacy, I guess, and so this is the first step.
we'll step up.
Yeah.
We always do.
It seems to me that some of the things that you've said, that you're not sure if it's a state or not, are things that the state library commission should be looking at. And somebody could call. It doesn't have to be you.
Yeah. That's good.
Yeah, I'm willing to do. I think I'm willing to do something.
Ideas.
The only thing I had is education and, supplementing education, which was there, so I get bumped up for, it's nice for them if they wanna go somewhere else.
Exactly.
But,
We've been down that road
yeah, you know,
a
but,
couple times.
because I'm sure if there's some grants, that we can get out of grants or something else to help someone in education, I guess.
There are the MBLC and LSD put out some grants for education. I used one towards one of my classes
Okay.
at
Sure.
one point, so they did earn, but they're on the small side, $500 one, but they did earn.
Well, a friend of mine works for did work for DPW, and I think the town supported his OSHA classes.
Oh, yeah.
After which, he reverted to working for local 104. Made a pile more money. Is that familiar?
Absolutely. You know.
I know.
So is it the
small-
little stuff we need to tick away at first,
Well, that's the question, right?
or the big stuff?
Well,
We could work on it at the same time.
Yeah.
But I think path of least resistance would be attacked quickly and work on it longer. That's what I would do. I don't know, take a
Rule six.
Yeah.
and is any of this low-hanging fruit? I don't know that I see any, but I think it's all pretty high up there, but the top of the apple fruit, you know.
Well, I mean, it's fair, the big things are the salary, adding a personal day system into what the system doesn't have. But I do think we could discuss acts of God closure,
Yeah.
as our first try, part-time person working. Recompense for the time wasted, not, other people in the town are getting paid for their salaries, and make it more equitable. And I don't think you have to make demand, say these are the issues that are coming before us, and we're asking you, how do we make it more equitable?
And it's no cost. So it's one of those no cost things, so why anybody would get upset with that, I don't know, but it seems like that's more reasonable for them to agree to.
It was attempted, Jean did try.
Oh, I'm sure she did,
2
yeah.
years ago, 3 years ago, I think she talked to the gentleman. And they did assign a cost to it, and I know she never got a resolution, she didn't understand where they were getting the number, so they did some calculation of that, it's gonna cost them money. I don't understand because it's included in the library budget, so to me, it's all accounted for.
Yeah.
If we're going to pay these folks X for giving 36-hour week, how difference does it make if for 24 of those hours the building is closed from the budget point of view?
Money talks, that's what everybody's concerned about.
Yeah, and properly.
What are these discussions that we're having fun?
So there is an HR board, that Mark Wilson is, I believe, head of.
He's chair, yeah.
And Diane Department too, and the other, oh gosh, I can't remember, there's 3 more people that's not.
Diane and John Lucy are the only two members
Oh, that's
that
right.
I can recall. They're employee reps.
Fran's last name?
Doyle. Yeah. And John Lucy is the chief of police, of course. And the other folks are fairly recent appointments by the board, select board. And I don't know either of them. They're supposedly HR professionals.
You don't know their name?
They're the other town reserve, I'm sure.
No, it's some website. Just get
Well,
on
they
there.
may be more open then, if they're HR experts.
You think?
Well, I don't think we've approached them yet, so.
No,
Right, no,
we
they
have
might
not.
be.
No, I think we need to
Yeah.
get our ducks all locked in.
Well, should we, make something of this ourselves?
Action items, yeah.
Yeah,
We should have some action items.
I'd be glad to do some of it.
I'll help you.
Okay.
You'll do well. I can't hear, I'm sorry.
I'd be glad to try and set a time to go to the resources.
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
Let's get,
I can go
let's get
with it.
ourselves organized before we do it. What are we going for?
I think we need to look up some information first from
Right.
the other towns, because we talked
Exactly.
about that, right?
Exactly.
Right.
So see if we can just break it up between us. See
Yeah,
if we can,
okay.
because it's just a website search or anything to find out something.
Right.
And then
some
make
of
an
the policy
appointment.
things.
Yeah, and then make an
Yeah.
appointment and say, okay, this is what other towns are doing, this is what we're doing. Is there any reason that we can't be more accommodating to staff and whatever, and we'll talk about it, and then take that on,
Okay.
do that. Okay. I think we'll probably meet with you guys
Of course.
for, put part of the agenda for meetings and say, this is what we found, this is what whatever, this is our next step.
But my experience one time has been talking to town, like what towns do, is not always the most fruitful conversation. And they've changed. Back in the past, I remember being on St. Petersburg 15 years ago, and so we're able to wait. We don't care what it comes to. But these people are different, have a different kind of view, interested in this, and I just wanted to put that out there because time-wise, that was not useful. But I wouldn't break this up.
Is there any time of year that they're more amenable, like not at a Christmas party, but,
Or
where
maybe,
it's like, they're not like doing stuff where they're harried, they don't want to talk to you, or they have more money in a budget that,
I don't know.
I
no.
don't know, because it's not the end of the fiscal year.
Well, I'm thinking
A lot
that's
of
the
the
best.
town is like, oh my goodness,
Okay.
August, yeah.
Right, so.
Yeah, because you don't want to talk to them when they're in the middle of trying to figure
Right.
stuff out, and that's just being polite. So now would be probably a good time for us.
My 2 cents worth on this. Ought we perhaps first to have a conversation with that town administrator?
Well, we want to be able to bring her something, you know.
Oh, yeah. Do the homework.
Yeah,
I think if we do our homework first, bring it in front of, the trustees, we can strategize on how we do that. The next step is then contact them. We have all the ducks in a row. They say, well, we don't get well. Here they do. I always like to have some knowledge, not that I retain it very well, but some knowledge so that when, I approach things like, what are they gonna say to me? What are the questions they're gonna ask me? I need the answers before I go in there.
I would first, once we are organized
Yeah,
and prepared, I would first like to approach Tracy Blaze
okay.
and have a conversation there.
she is the person on the record.
Beg pardon?
She is the person on the record.
Exactly, and then keeps appearing in the manual. I will tell you a quick story. One of the limitations within the personnel policy is on sick time. One is permitted to accumulate up to 1,000 hours, 60 or whatever that number is, but there are chronic conditions occurring from time to time among the employee base, which employee runs through his or her accumulated hours. And the concept of a sick time bank does exist in some jurisdictions. And the concept was advanced to the Human Resources Board probably 5 or 6 years ago. And it hit a stumbling block due to the inherent unevenness in compensation between the petitioner seeking the additional time off and the donor of the hours into this. Yeah, you got it, okay? Now, but that isn't the point. The point is, Tracy Blaze stated to me, like, I took it up, this is what happened, I will submit it again if you want me to. She is not a hard ass. She is. Yeah. So I would suggest we start there.
Okay.
Once.
We have our ducks in a row.
Yeah, exactly. Let's find out what our comparative situation is as with the salaries. So with all these other things and personal days rather, and all of that. One wasn't built in a day, nor was it destroyed that quickly.
It's just very quickly.
Yes, it is. 876, we're forgetting. Anyhow. Okay, guys, we have action items.
Yeah, I think Terry and I do actually.
Well, yes, you do. Yes, you are. Okay.
So does that, would that count as a special session, it could, or, when you have an offshoot of the board, working on audit? No?
I don't know.
I think two things, put it onto the agenda for our 8/17 meeting. Whatever has happened, let's keep the conversation going, okay? And secondly,
I was gonna say, I think 8/17. Oh wait, 8/17. Guys, we've got 2 weeks.
2 weeks from
That's
today.
okay, is that okay, Karen?
Yes.
See what you can get done. It's not a hard and fast.
And if it's
deadline.
not much, that's okay. You know, I'll put it on the
I'm
next
trying to
agenda.
get a funeral.
I'll put it on.
What?
That's all right.
Never mind.
Yeah, she knows.
Oh, Beth.
Just don't
Okay.
talk to me too long, you die. But that's okay. But yeah, I think that's enough time to at least get a
Yes,
parameter.
I was away all this weekend, which is why I'm dishing. And high school reunion, 75th birthday party.
I think we'll be okay.
So how was your reunion?
It was actually the best one I've been to. It was so friendly and easygoing. It was just for my high school, which is a couple's house who I know, for our high school, and then there were 4 high schools at the time. This is anything else.
Shall I move for adjournment, guys?
Yeah.
Okay. Moving for adjournment, do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, unanimously concluded.